"Sir, come with me," she said.
My body felt leaden, though my nose, eyes, and temples fluttered on my shoulders as a butterfly above a meadow. I haven't any memory of leaving the atelier. Before I knew it, the mistress was dressing my bloody gash in another room, the kitchen or perhaps another workshop. There were large panels of glass window that made up the whole of one wall and curved up into the ceiling, a glowing spectacle of misting cotton clouds above our heads. It sprinkled little drops of cool silver pearls, collecting with the condensation, before growing weary and swimming below my eye to the tile floors outside. It was cold in that room. She had laid my arm upon an empty, unfinished oak table some 10 feet by 5 feet. While she began her bloody work, I scorned my earlier reaction. It was not my marriage and not my place to feel such instant resentment at the appearance of the woman who allowed me in her home and sutured my wounds. In that room, after hearing Robert's words and witnessing such a magnificent portrait against its coarse, earthly muse, it seemed right, but I knew it not. I winced as the hot tip of the needle pierced my flayed skin. Her bottom lip drooped with feigned ignorance.
"You shouldn't have entered the atelier. I knew he'd find you there, and from there begin talking, as he always does."
My eyes connected with hers again, though her pupils now popped in the rich light like 2 floating blueberries in cream.
"Good, you're back,"
she said tartly.
"I was wondering when you'd stop staring at me as my husband does, like I had a forked tongue and horns."
I blinked, my consciousness settling its roots again. "Is he your husband?" He'd been saying that, The air popped as the needle pricked the ragged edge of my gash anew. Her expression remained still and unapologetic as she pulled through the wire.
"We were, in times past, connected like a sparrow to its nest. Yes, that man is by law my husband, but I surmise he doesn't even see it that way anymore. Such a romantic fool I'd been. We've only been here some 7 springs, if you'd believe it. This was my father's summer house. He gifted it to me when we were wedded."
She giggled incongruously, giving slack to the wire.
"He wasn't too happy when I married Robert, a commoner as he was. I was the oldest, the one to marry up, carry our honour, do as I was told. My father gave me this lot to close me off from the family, I'm sure for the shame I brought us. And, in fact, I haven't seen him or any of my sisters since."
She gazed about the large empty room with a look both hollow and haunted.
Now the grounds hold nothing but dust and darkness, and the walls grow weary with Robert's incessant collection."
She began the next row. The pain was nigh unbearable. I could do little but let my jaw muscles cramp and stare away from my throbbing arm. Her eyes hung on the delicate thread, allowing the fog of her breath to soar past it.
"It hasn't always been such misery, though. Like I said, we loved each other when we were younger, and before my father knew. He was a boy I'd found one day in the neighbours' orchards of another of my father's summer houses. I ended up joining him there, perhaps from my curiosity about the vulgar outside world. He wasn't stunned at all when we met, and could he make me laugh."
Her eyes took on a softer cast as the gentle memory surfaced within.
"That day, amidst the orchards, we ended up exploring the grounds, and he would pick me up by my waist, and we'd pluck the largest peaches from the highest branches. But by day's end, we ran laughing when the guard dogs finally noticed our incursion. From there on that summer, I would escape sometimes after supper, run up the vineyard hills to Robert's cottage, and watch him paint under candlelight all through the night. We'd talk until both of us knocked out on the sofa. It was freedom," she said.
"Freedom," I echoed dully through gritted teeth.
"That's all I wanted," she said. "I couldn't bear the thought of marrying some pigeon-toed, pixie-faced duke. Let the rosemary wallpaper engulf me as I bore one red-nosed child after the other. So I was defiant at last and ran off with Robert. Hid in an old cabin he used to live in down by the river. I confess that when my father's men found us, I didn't feel freedom then, only weakness and regret. He wed us then and there, and we've lived here since, with a practical, miserly allowance to shut us up, which we're fortunate to have. I just wish I had the strength to do what's next. To do what's next.
As she spoke, her pupils dilated, seeing 12 meters past my arm, and her grip tightened enough to strangle a cat. Those words, they didn't seem meant for me. I just happened to hear them. Also, I knew the knife still hid in her robes. Its presence pulsed the air in my chest. I could not turn off my fixation, not with such a perilous question just in front of me. Why she could grip the shaft of that blade and cut me down this instant, irrational or not, I thought I knew this to be her intention. She just hadn't done so yet. How she would do it was now my question. Then there was a silence, and her fingertips furled underneath my forearm, thumbs pressing in the belly of my elbow, just beneath the point of the stitched gash. Those fingers were like ice, radiating death in my swollen veins. At once Robert entered the room, and the speckles growing in my vision washed away. He held his chin high, arms folded behind his back. He didn't see her, but he hung his stare in her general direction.
Our Miss Boudreau is resting on the sofa in the parlour. I am going to freshen up for the evening. Please begin preparing supper. We are starving, he said.
She never turned around, allowing him to leave without reply. Still, though, she pressed those thumbs on my arm, entreating the speckles to return.
Mistress Boudreau, blah? I am Mistress Boudreau. I am the Mistress Boudreau.
From there I remember nothing but the thin trickle of blood, dark as crushed mulberries, streaming down my elbow. And then I was standing, upright somehow. I was in the parlour, where the floor opened between a mahogany wall etched with patterns of a Gaelic embroidery and a cluster of Greek busts, old books and lounge furniture. And still I heard those same whispers hovering above me, the voice of Miss Boudreau. Only she was in front of me, or at least her gold-leafed frame was. The portrait has been taken down now, reclined atop the bench where I sat before. I believed now it was still her voice I heard, and that unseen arm, those dark fingers unfurling from me once more. From her unseen hand came that sprinkle of indigo dreams, whatever madness brought me here, and tossed my consciousness, even now, as a skipping stone. That unblinking stare caught me then. It was as if I saw her motion, a short giggle escape her lips and nose, and her rose-stem fingertips spin the peony petals. There were other stranger feelings too. An aura grew in the room, as of a ghost swinging an unseen perfumed censer across the floor. It was a sort of miasma, like the dying breath of hallowed creatures. Some malice came to me then. I knew it was already there. I inspected myself. My wound was stitched, and nothing had slung against my limbs. My feet were atop an enormous rug, woven in intricate, tessellated lines, crimson, mercury, and gold, and in my hand was, see here, the knife from before. But how had it come to my hand, and why did I still grip it? Had the lady given it to me, or had I taken it? Had I done wrong? Should I release it, hide its cursed blade beneath a pillow? Yes, I should, and flee this eerie place too. Only I couldn't move, as if that walnut hilt grew roots into my palm, veins running through me until they ingrained past the soles of my feet to where I stood. I was stuck, and this inherent malice was stuck to my frame. My fear held me still. What shall I do? This question of the knife blazed within me.